Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is part 2 to my earlier video about diagnosing and fixing the Shiftronic issues for all the 03 to 08 automatic Tiburons, Hyundais. It probably works for any of the Hyundais 03 to 08 that use this style of shifter. I apologize for not actually telling you how to fix it, just diagnosing your issue, but everything works in stages. So hard to talk and focus at the same time. Okay, so now there's going into actually repairing the shifting issue. There's a couple different ways you can go about it. The easiest way, in all reality, and it sucks, the easiest way to fix this is to buy a whole new one. And they're pretty cheap. Well, depending on which state you are in, which country. My local You Pull It LKQ yard charged me $15 plus a $4 core, so $20 for a newest assembly. Came with everything. This knob, it did not come with I just put that on there to protect the little plastic shifter lever. But just pretty much $19 for this whole assembly. And they're pretty simple to take out. Let's go. I'm sorry, I live in South Florida, so everybody honks their horns for no reason. Let me take you to the inside of my car and I can show you how easy it is to take them out. Now, since my car is working at the moment, I can't really, actually do it myself again. But there's 4 bolts. 4 bolts to pretty much remove this thing. Or at least get it taken out. What you'll have to do is you'll have to take off this whole centerpiece right here. You'll have to take this out first because you're not going to get this out with this on. So you're going to have to take out 4 screws on each side. There's 2 screws here, 2 screws, 1 here, and then there's 1 there. And then you're going to have to take out 3 screws, 1, 2, and then third one's going to be right here. Which is pretty easy to get to. You just have to pretty much maneuver your seat. And then the same for the other side. You're going to want to pull your emergency brake up, pull this up, pop this out, and then you'll be able to pull the whole thing off. You don't even have to empty all this out. I actually removed this yesterday and I didn't have to empty out none of my stuff. It slips right out. You can put it off over to the side. And once you have access to this, you're going to see that there's 4 bolts. There's 1 here. There's 1 right down there you can see. And then same goes for that side. 1 there and 1 there. Those are the 4 bolts you're going to need to actually take this assembly off your car. Now, what you want to do first, though, because some of this stuff is a little bit challenging to get off, you won't have to worry about this shroud around with this, if you're doing it on your car. But you're going to want to pop this out first. You're going to want to pop this linkage out first, because if you try to do that while this is not bolted down, it's going to suck, because this is in there firm. It's meant to not move from here. You're going to need to take, what I did was I took some pliers. So pretty much I took a wrench, gripping wrench, pliers, something like that. And you just want to go in there and you want to grip on each side. You're going to want to grip this and that. And actually, let me take this so you don't have to hear that beeping. You're going to want to grip each side of this, and you're going to want to squeeze it. At the same time you're squeezing it, you're going to want to push this out. But before you do that, this piece right here, you're going to have to pop that out. It's pretty simple. You just take a needle nose, go in there. It should come out fairly easily. Hold on to it. You don't want to lose that, because if you lose that, your shifter linkage will not stay on this tab. And if it doesn't stay on that tab, you will not be able to shift. So this little thing right here is what allows you to move your gears. You want to pull that out, pop this off. Once you pop this off, then you'll go and start removing this, and it's pretty firm, so you'll want to push in as you're gripping those two little pieces on each side. Push in and it'll pop right out. Once you do that, then there's these two cables here. These two cables are much easier to take off. There's a little piece right here. You're gonna want to take this off. It's pretty simple. Just, you pull on that, give that a little pressure, and it pops right off. And then this one down here, that is connected to your brake. So actually, if you press down on your brake, you'll see, there you go, you'll see it move. That, ladies and gentlemen, is pretty much what allows you to move your car out of park. You're gonna want to remove, once you remove these two pieces right here, you're going to want to remove this nut and this nut down here. You remove those two nuts, you'll be able to pop these out. When you do that, I'll explain in a minute. When you do that, what you need to make sure you do when you're putting them back on, because I ran into a little bit of an issue. All right, so now let's go back to my shifter that's outside. Oop, dropped my keys. Okay. So now, with this, again, like I said, easiest thing to do is buy a new one at the junkyard. Now, if you don't want to do that, it's pretty simple to take it out, but it's actually it's gonna be a little bit of a hassle. Okay, what actually keeps first of all, you're gonna want to remove, if your shifter boot is still on it, you're gonna want to remove that. You're going to want to remove this nut right here, and you're gonna want to, once you remove this nut, you're gonna want to push this bolt out. You're gonna want to push it out. It may be a little bit firm because it's meant to not come out, but yeah, just push it out. And this is why I say it's actually easier to just buy a whole new one for cheap. Once that is out, then you're going to want to remove this nut, and essentially, then you're going to want to remove this nut. This nut will unconnect this part right here, the metal shaft right here, around the shifter. That will actually allow you to start moving and taking the shifter out. I can't really do it to this one because I've sold this one. This was my second one that I had in good condition. As you can see, it has the plastic piece still intact. So once you do that, then you obviously just gonna go ahead and start popping off these little black tabs right here. Let's get some focus. There we go. You're gonna want to start popping off these little black tabs, and once you pop them off on that side, you're just gonna have to pretty much wiggle maneuver this down, but you're gonna have to pull it down out the bottom. That's why you're gonna have to remove that nut right there to be able to actually move it down. Once that happens, you'll be able to pretty much go to a hardware store and Home Depot, Lowe's, and find a rubber boot that fits this but isn't too big, or pretty much is too obnoxious, because it's gonna have to be big enough to fit around that, but thin enough to fit around the to fit inside the actual shifter. If you can see in there, let's get some focus. If you can see in there, it's pretty snug, and that's just to not allow any movement besides where it's intended to go. So it's going to be pretty difficult to find something that actually fits that and pretty much fits all the categories you need. So that's why I just recommend going to the junkyard and getting a new one. Excuse me, not a new one. Going to the junkyard, instead of spending the headache trying to disassemble this and go to the store and get a ride to the store, or pull out your secondary, pull out your daily, whatever, ride a bike and go to the hardware store and try to find this little plastic piece, something that fits, and then possibly getting it wrong, doing it multiple times, so on and so forth. Just spend the 15 minutes at the junkyard and just pull a new one. It doesn't take long, much less of a headache. It doesn't take long, it's much less of a headache. Pretty simple to put back on, nothing really crazy. You would just put it back in there, put the 4 bolts, boom, 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 tighten them down. You're going to want to push this back in, push it back into this slot, put the end piece back on, and then put that little clip, you can see it right there, put that little clip back in there. That won't move. Then you'll be good to go on this end. Then from there, you want to move to this side. Now this side was a tricky side that I was talking about. Now as you can see, these have springs on them, both of them. When you put them on, when you put these pieces on, you're gonna put that on there, and then you're gonna put that one on to that little clip there. When you press in this piece, now you're gonna see there's a black little shield right there, that right there. You want to make sure that it is on the inside of this plastic housing. So you want to make sure it's on the same side as the spring for this one, for the top one. And you can't mix these up because the brackets for them are specifically meant to go in certain places. So there's no possibility of you mixing these two up. Once you put that on, then you want to tighten this up. And then same goes for the bottom one. Once you put that one on, this one will be a little bit more tricky. Not too much though, nothing that you can't handle. Then you want to make sure that the black piece again is on the same side as the spring, and then you tighten that up as well. Once that's all tightened up, before you go and start reinstalling the shroud and any of this and putting the covers back on and trying to go for a drive, keep everything off, start your car, try it, see if it works. If it works, that means you did everything right, and then you can start reassembling everything. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It sucks that it happens, but it happens a lot. But again, it's entirely up to you if you want to go ahead and try this out, try to fix it, try to fix your own. But I highly recommend just going to the junkyard. Most of the time people do not pull these anyways. Most of the time you will always find the shifter assembly still in the vehicle, unlike other things like seats, panels, things like that. And half the time you may even find them with the person already have removed a bunch of the stuff in your way, and you're just sitting there and you just have this exposed, which if you find that, you get really lucky. That saves you some time. That pretty much sums up the shifter assembly and how to diagnose it, fix it, repair it, replace it, and pretty much reassemble everything on it to make sure that once you are done, your car works, shifts fine, shifts shiftronically fine, and good to go. I mean, everybody talks about us getting manuals, but hey, we're about 15 miles per hour faster than them. So thank you for bearing with me, and I hope to see you guys soon on the next video. Bye bye.